I'm recording this video on the passage today in Acts chapter 25, just a few days after we have seen the video of George Floyd being killed by the Minneapolis police in the streets. I know you're watching it a couple of weeks after that occurrence, but today that is what is on my mind as I open the text of Scripture. And then when I opened the text of Willie Jennings' commentary on Acts, which I've been commending to you for a while now. And one of the things that strikes me as we read this text is, I open the text to see that it's a text of Paul basically being on trial again. I mean, this is such a huge portion of the latter part of the book of Acts is Paul's continued trials. And to me, they're not all that interesting in a lot of ways. But what struck me as soon as I started reading the text this morning is how much protection Paul's citizenship gives him. It gives him the ability in this text to appeal to Caesar to hear his case, to take his case to the highest court, so to speak. And what a contrast that is to Jesus' trial, who didn't enjoy the rights of citizenship in the empire. Jesus, who was, a Palestinian Jew whose trial was basically a sham and whose execution was nearly immediate. I mean, in so many ways, I see the execution of George Floyd in the execution of Jesus and vice versa. Some of Floyd's last words were, "I can't breathe." Some of Jesus' last words were, "I thirst." This call of a desperate need for something that the body requires for surviving. Floyd called out for his mother in his final breaths. Jesus, too, on the cross, calls for his mother, who's standing there, and commends her into the care of the disciple. But Paul doesn't have that kind of experience. As much as he is hated and continually sought after for an execution, he draws on the privilege of his citizenship, his embodiment of a fragment of the empire's power, in order to protect his life, in order to have his case heard, and even in order to continue spreading the good news to more and more people as he's able to garner larger and more powerful audiences. So there's a dilemma here, especially for many of us who embody the privilege and power of our own empire, particularly the racial privilege that white people enjoy, the economic privilege that many enjoy. And I opened the text here of Willie Jennings' commentary on Acts, and the very first sentence here is one that I think is an important lens through which to read this text of Acts this morning. Jennings says, and these words couldn't be more timely this week after the killing of George Floyd. Jennings says, "How do you think, sleep, dream, eat, and live when your life hangs suspended in a legal process that moves painfully slow and is governed by a judicial system not concerned with the truth? This is the plight of so many, and it must become the deep concern of the church." And Jennings goes on in his commentary to help readers think about what it means to be citizen disciples, to be people who take as one of our primary concerns the way in which the mechanisms of empire are rolling over the bodies of those disadvantaged in the imperial structure, those upon whom, he says, the brunt of its unleashed violence is meted out upon, those made slaves to its economic machinations. And Jennings is encouraging us as we read this text of Paul drawing on his own privilege within the empire to turn the message against the empire's power to destroy and power to take life. So I hope that you will read this text this morning recognizing what power you embody and what it means to be a disciple, as Jennings says here, a disciple who is already of the new order, already embodying revolution, already gearing up to perform rebellion in the everyday acts of living, sharing, and supporting others. This is our concern today as citizen disciples.